A trapezoid has an area 169 square inches, height 13 inches, and base 19 inches. Find the length of the other base by first solving this formula for b sub 1. So we could certainly go through and plug in all the numbers first and then solve, but it is asking us, the first thing, it wants you to solve for b sub 1. It wants you to practice taking an equation and manipulating it to get a different variable by itself. So if I wanted to get my b sub 1 by itself, how would you get rid of that 1/2? Multiply each side by 2. So 1/2 times 2 would cancel, so that gives me a 2a equals h b sub 1 plus b sub 2. Alright, I'm trying to get to my b sub 1. So let's just work our way there. What should I do next? Divide by h. Now I can't actually simplify it, so it's just going to be 2a over h equals b sub 1 plus b sub 2. And what would you do to get b sub 1 by itself? Subtract over b sub 2. Okay, that is the first thing I asked. Solve this equation for b sub 1, and we did. Second thing I asked was to actually find it, so we're going to use all these numbers that I gave us. So the area is 169. I didn't specify what all my variables stood for, but which one do you think is my area? A. Okay. So plug in a 169 for my A. My height would be h, that was 13, minus, one of my bases was 19. So you could plug it in for either one. I'm just going to put it in for b sub 2. So if we solve that, we get b sub 1 to be 7. Is that what you guys got? You don't trust me, really, right? You're going to double check the math. 7 inches? Okay. Alright, I'm going to put 2 up here, and I want you guys just to try each of these, solving for the variable I asked for. So the first one, I want you to get L by itself, second one, get F by itself. So the first one, you solve for L, what did you guys do first? Okay, there's 2 different routes you can take. The first route you could divide everything by 2, so you get P over 2 equals W plus L. And then subtract over your W, so your L is P over 2 minus W. And that's fine. What's the other way you could have done it?
Subtract 2W.
So P minus 2W equals 2L, and then, yeah. So you might have had P minus 2W over 2. Either of those answers is okay. All right, part B. I'm just going to come down here so I've got more space. If you have that 5/9 multiplied, We could divide by 5/9, but that's the same as multiplying by what? 9/5. So why don't we start just by multiplying by the reciprocal? That would cancel this part out. So then we have a 9/5c equals f minus 32. And then add 32. So 9/5c plus 32 equals our f. See? You got it. Yes?
Is 9c/5 the same?
Yes, 9c/5 would be fine. Any questions here? Guys, I've been very rude. This is Mrs. Jetty. I didn't scare her away yesterday, so she is going to take over for me when I have a baby. So, welcome her, be nice to her, help her out when I leave. She's gonna be great. You guys, oh, she's from Palmyra, but don't hold that against her.
Yeah, don't hold that against
We'll overlook that. All right, any
We're like
questions?
black and gold.
Yeah, see, you're working on it. You'll have all kinds of black and gold. Right? Any questions on these? So let's do just some review problems. This was the only new thing I have today, and then I just wanted to keep practicing some of those word problems, especially now that we're all finally back together. Thought it might not hurt us to go back over some things. So we've really done like 3 main types of word problems. We started out with those geometry type problems, and then we kind of got into the mixture and the interest problems. Yesterday, the linear ones, you guys did pretty well with those, so I'm only going to practice a couple today. So if I look at this one, a puzzle piece in the shape of a triangle has perimeter 30 centimeters. What would you do? Let's draw a triangle. Draw a picture. Okay, 2 sides of the triangle are each twice as long as the shortest side. I guess maybe my triangle isn't the best. You can't tell exactly which my shortest side is. Doesn't really matter. I'm not going to take off on your picture if it's not clear, but so if I do it like this, my shortest side is down here, so I'm going to call that what? X. The other 2 sides are the same, and they're both twice as long, so those would be? Okay, no skipping steps. You get points for this. That's defining your variables. So you get a point just for doing that. Now when I talk about perimeter, how do you find perimeter? Add all the sides. 2x plus 2x plus x equals 30. Okay, so we have 5x equals 30, divide by 5, and our x is 6. So then, am I done? No, I want a sentence. Answer the question. I asked for the length of the shortest side. X was my shortest side. So my shortest side is 6 centimeters. Any questions there? Next type. How many gallons of pure alcohol should be mixed with 20 gallons of a 15% alcohol to obtain a mixture that is 25% alcohol? So this is one of the mixture problems. What do we do? to our table. Formula across the top, what do we put? Now we need the things that we're mixing together. Which two am I mixing together? Pure and the, is this a 25? Okay. Pure is like what percent? That is annoying. 100%. If you mix 100 and a 25, could you get 15? No, you're going to mix your highest and lowest to get the one in the middle. So I have to mix the 100 and the 15 to get 25. Okay, it says how many gallons of pure, so we don't know it, so we call that. Must be mixed with 20 gallons of the 15%. So how much would be in the total then? Okay, pure, that's 100%. How do we write that as a decimal? 1. 15% and 25. Okay, so then we multiply. X times 1 is X. 0.15 times 20. 0.25 times X. How do we write the equation from here? Add the first two to equal the bottom. I'm really glad we're not taking a test or anything. Alright, so 0.15 times 20 3 equals 0.25 S. 0.25 times 20 5. Subtract over my 0.25. Subtract my 3. And divide. What do we get? So divide by 0.75 now, we would get 2.6 repeating, or 8 over 3, or 2 2/3, however you want to write it. So the question was, how much of the pure do we need? So there must be I don't even remember what the problem was. What were we mixing? It was the alcohol. This is like a 1x. So when you subtract the 0.25, 1 minus 0.25. Other questions? One last review problem then. Take a second and see if you can set this one up. So don't try solving anything yet. We'll talk about it and make sure you're on the right track first, but take a second and start it. So we know it's an interest problem. It's a little bit different than interest because it talks about, profit. It doesn't necessarily say the word interest in it, but we can do it the same way. So he has 2 plots of land. So I may call this the first and the second. Maybe a total. You can use the percents if you want. I'm not real worried about those labels on the left as long as they make sense to you, as long as you know what you're talking about. So a man bought 2 plots of land for a total of $120,000. Where does that $120,000 go? That's our total what? Principal. Principal is like your starting amount. Okay, do I know how much he paid for the first one? No, the question is how much did he pay for each? So one of those has to be X. Then what would the other one be? Do you do X minus 120 or 120,000 minus X? You have to do the total minus X because we don't want to get a negative number. Okay. When he sold the first plot, he made a profit of 15%. So what's my rate there? 0.15. When he sold the second, he lost 10%. How would I show a loss in my interest rate? Negative 0.1. Did it tell me an overall percent anywhere? Nope, so I'm just going to leave that blank. Time on these, unless I specify otherwise, what do we use? 1. If I said, 2 years, you would put a 2. If I said 6 months, what would we use for our time? 0.5. You want to do it in terms of years. So my time is just 1 here. The other thing given, his total profit was $5,500. What is that? Yep, that's like your total interest. 5,500. So now we just follow the formula, principal times rate times time. So if we multiply those, we get 0.15x. Negative 0.1 times 120,000 minus x. Then the equation is always the same. You add the first 2. To equal your total. So I have to distribute my negative 0.1. Add like terms. Add over my 12,000. And you should get divide by 0.25. Get 70,000, right? Yeah. So the question was, how much did he pay for each piece of land? Does this mean he paid 70,000 for each? No. He paid 70,000 for the first. And to get my second one, you have to do 120,000 minus 70,000. So 50,000 for the second. Questions there? So those were just a few review problems. Tomorrow I'm going to give you a review handout before the quiz, so to practice a little bit of everything. This is it for today. Your homework, it is a very short assignment. You're finishing that handout. So it's 12 through 15. You might even get done before class is over.